Hey, welcome back everyone to Aprons On. Fancy a cheesecake? Because that's what I'm going to whip up this afternoon in the kitchen. So just quickly then, going through the ingredients, I'll put all of the exact amounts and the ingredient list underneath the video in the description. But essentially we're going to be cooking this in a 10-inch springform pan in a bain-marie, which is a water bath, as we learned when we made our creme brulees. I've got 5 lovely eggs from my mate down the road, Bonnie, who brings me eggs every week. We've got roughly a cup of powdered sugar. A lot of recipes you'll see online call for more sugar than that, but we don't have particularly sweet tooths in our house, so I cut the sugar back a little bit. I got 4 packets of cream cheese, Philadelphia or whatever brand you want. This happens to be low fat. I've not really found any difficulty in making a cheesecake with low fat cheese, and it's a little bit healthier. And a couple of sticks of butter, a lemon, some vanilla essence and sour cream. So that's it. Let's first thing we want to do is prepare our springform pan. So I'll stop rabbit in here and we'll get stuck in. And I forgot to mention the crust actually. I've got a couple of packets here of graham crackers, which we're going to smash up. We might blitz them in the food processor, but you can smash them up with a rolling pin in a bag. It's just as good. You can use ginger nut biscuits if you're in England. You can use pepernoten if you're in the Netherlands, which is sort of like a little gingery biscuit. You can use pretty much anything you like, really. All right, the first thing we got to do then is to wrap our springform pan in some tin foil. Now, if you've never used a springform pan before and you don't know what I'm talking about, this is why it's called a springform pan. It's got a little latch on there, and this part is flexible, but it's got a latch on it that pulls it tight around the bottom. What that means is, when this is done, it makes it really easy to take the ring off and get to your cheesecake. The downside of that is, of course, if you're submerging this, water can get in around the edges. And that is what we need our tin foil for. And you want to double wrap this. Make sure that you get the wider rolls of tin foil. Otherwise you'll run the risk, if you use a normal size, that where it overlaps, it's going to let the water in. So give it 2 layers, just in case you happen to poke a hole in it doing it the first time. So it's a bit of a belt and braces affair, this. So that's what you got. It's all wrapped up. This next step is really important. Get a good knob of butter. If you're English, you sort of naturally know, I think, what a knob of butter is, what the amount is. That's actually not a big knob of butter. That's a better knob of butter. Pop that in your pan, and you're just going to go all around this. Looks like a heck of a lot, but you don't want this cheesecake sticking to the pan. That's one of the reasons actually that your cheesecake can crack. All right, next step then is our base for the cheesecake. So take one of your sticks of butter, whole stick, pop that in a small saucepan, and get that over a low heat. We just want that to melt. So while our butter is warming up, I keep these in the packets to start with, and just mash them up in the packet. From this stage, if you want to put them in your food processor and blitz them, that gets them nice and fine. But they actually don't have to be really, really fine. What works as well, and it makes cleanup an awful lot easier, is once you've given a bit of a mash up, just dump this all in a larger Ziploc bag, you know. Got your crumbs in there, get some of the air out of this. And just go at it with your rolling pin. I always used to do it in the food processor, but it's such a pain in the ass to clean that thing. And this works equally well. So, small bowl, dump your crumbs in there. So there's our butter. Just pour that straight onto the crumbs. Give that a little bit of a mix. Now obviously don't go sticking your hands in this right away because you'll burn yourself. It will gradually cool down as you mix it. So all we're going to do is take our biscuits, our crumbs, just pour them straight into the bottom of our springform pan. Get all those little crumbs out, smooth it around, and we want to pack it down. So the main thing is you want this biscuit base, cookie base, to be even all the way across. You don't want it to be really thin in the middle and really thick on the outsides. Just nice even layer. So I'm going to be using a stand mixer today. If you don't have a stand mixer and you've got, you know, a hand one, you can use that. You want to use your, not the whisk attachment, but just the paddle. So let's get our cheese in here and start mixing up some ingredients. So let's get our cheese in first. And if you've got a stand mixer or you're doing this on over a bowl, what I find the easiest way to get this cheese out is hang it over the edge of the bowl like that. Then just slide the cheese right out of the wrapper. And it's just, I find it just a lot easier to work in a nice tidy kitchen, and you get less waste as well. So there's our 4 packets of Philadelphia in the mixing bowl. They're at room temperature, which is really important when making a cheesecake. Your sour cream or heavy cream, whichever you use, you can use either. Your butter and your eggs need to be all at room temperature. So into our cream cheese, we're going to add about 2 cups of sour cream. And the sour cream gives it a lovely tartness. Okay, we got our sour cream and our cream cheese in the bowl. Now what we're going to add is the other stick of butter that is also at room temperature, and it's going to be a bit messy, but we want it to be really nice and warm because it will blend in with these other ingredients much better. So you just want it on the lowest setting on your stand mixer, and what we're wanting to do is blend these ingredients together, and periodically you'll want to shut this off and just get your spatula, get down into the bottom of the bowl and pick up that cream cheese that the beater can't reach. So while the mixer is blending the sour cream and the cream cheese, we're going to take our lemon and our foil and take the zest off of one whole lemon. This is what's going to really elevate this cheesecake and make it really light and bright and flavorful. Get that lovely citrus flavor coming through the cheese. It's just tremendous. Once you got your zest off, you can put that straight into the mix, and that lemon zest will start to perfume that cream cheese. And then we'll cut this lemon in half. This is optional. I've done it like this for years, for my Gloucestershire friends. And just squeeze the juice of that lemon into our cheese mix. And now I'm going to add, a bit at a time, my approximately 1 cup of powdered sugar. Okay, our cream cheese, butter and sour cream, along with the lemon zest and the juice of that one lemon, has now been mixing for just a bit over 2 minutes. Then it's time now to add the eggs, which you always add last. This is another area where if you put your eggs in too soon, they tend to capture air, especially the egg white, and that can lead to your cheesecake has too much air in it and it will start to rise like a normal cake, and as it cools down it will crack. So always put your eggs in last, and again these are at room temperature. Crack all your eggs, because we're going to pour these eggs in one at a time and allow around 30 seconds or to where the egg is just about incorporated before we add the next one. So let me get the camera around so you can see that a little bit better. And we're just going to add one yolk in, and you'll see that yolk, as soon as it gets sort of whisked up like that, it usually takes about 30 seconds, you can add another one. And our third egg. Fourth. And our last egg, in she goes. So once those eggs are all incorporated, add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. You don't have to put that in, and you could actually add more than that if you wanted to. Perfect. That is all we need to do as far as blending those ingredients together. So we can grab our springform pan again, and then just pour this straight in there like that. And if you drop it a few times like that, you will actually see the bubbles that are in there, which are unavoidable, come up to the top and burst. If you do that a few times, you'll get most of them out. We can also just level that off as best we can with the spatula. We get our old roasting pan that we're going to use as the bain-marie, and we'll move over to the oven. So our oven is preheated to 300 Fahrenheit or 150 Celsius or gas mark 2. So let's get this into the oven. So you want to put this on not the very bottom shelf, but like one up from the bottom, not the middle, cooler part of the oven. We've got our kettle of boiling water. Okay, cheesecake is in the oven, and that's where it's going to stay for approximately 2 hours. I say approximately because everybody's oven's a little bit different. This isn't a fan oven. If you've got a fan oven, it might be a little bit quicker than that. But the main thing to remember at this point is don't open the oven door. Keep it closed for those 2 hours. How we're going to check to see if it's cooked is actually visually. We want to make sure that it still jiggles in the middle, even though the outside edges have firmed up. What you'll see is, hopefully, if I just give it a shove in the middle, it still jiggles. See that? That's what we want. So our 2 hours have passed. Our cheesecake is done, and what we need to do now is let it cool down really slowly. So I've turned the oven off, and all you need is a wooden spoon, or something that isn't going to melt with the heat of the oven, and just crack the door open and wedge that in there like that. And just let it cool down really, really slowly. If you take it out of the oven right now and put it onto a cooling rack, the cheesecake is going to shrink as it cools, and it'll do it too quickly, and that will cause cracks all over the top. Right, so there you go then. We're just letting it cool down now. So that's going to take 45 minutes to an hour. When that's done, we will take it out of the oven and put it on a cooling rack, and then we'll run a knife around the edge just to make sure that it's not sticking anywhere, because the next step is we're going to put it in the fridge overnight, and I will see you back through the miracles of video tomorrow morning. Hey, welcome back. It's the following day, and our cheesecake has been chilling in the fridge overnight. As you can see, I leave the foil and the sides on it, and I actually cover it with cling film, but actually have the cling film pressed down on the top of the cheesecake, because if you just cover it and it doesn't touch, you can get condensation under and it drips down on the top of your cheesecake. So just a quick note, I always keep my cheesecake on the base of the springform pan until we've eaten it all. If you weren't wanting to do that and you wanted to take it off and put it on a prettier plate or something to bring to the table, then you'd need to put some wax paper, parchment paper on top of this so that you can take it off, because there's no way you're going to get this off in one piece. Make sure you've got a nice clean knife when you do this, and don't use a serrated one. Use a nice sharp knife. See if I can get this out in one piece. Because the first slice is always a bit tricky, but it's got a lovely texture, as you can see. Throw a few happy little blueberries, and I found some wild choke cherry syrup in the fridge, and I think I'm just going to drizzle just a little bit of that across there and call it good. So there we go. Let's have a taste. You know, cheesecake never gets old, and the lemon zest, for me at least, it makes it so light on the palate, you know, because let's face it, it's basically fat and eggs, so it could be pretty heavy if you weren't careful, but absolutely delicious. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already, tell your mates, but get in the kitchen, get that apron on, and give this a go. Cheers, everybody.